All right, we are live again. Got a bit of good news before we get to all of the bad news that inevitably.
I thought this show was supposed to be uplifting. We're coming out of the coronavirus.
It was never that. It was never that. But now it's taken a turn for even worse news with all the insanity and riots and everything. Oh, wow. But I finally talked to Photo Mike. And I did a quick interview with him today.
Oh, yeah?
And I thought we could start the show with this interview. I just cut it up really dirty, but just so that you guys can hear the whole story from Mike himself. Let's play this and start out with something a little positive here. All right, Photog Mike, I have been wondering what has happened to you for weeks now. First of all, what is your real name?
Michael. My first name's Michael, last name Qualley.
We started these coronavirus journal videos 2 months ago, maybe longer now. You were there at the beginning. You let us know in the live chats that you had come down with coronavirus, but you were not worried at all at the beginning.
No, because I never get sick, but I'm not super healthy either. So I'm just the average person who never goes to a doctor.
Okay.
Right? So I woke up one Sunday morning and it felt like I was coming down with the flu. So I was like, whatever. So I stayed in, drank a bunch of, like orange juice and just stayed away from everybody because I knew what was going on. And I figured, well, if it is the flu, I don't want to make it worse for anybody else. Went to work the next day. My boss is like, you got to go get tested. So I went and got tested. And of course, 2 days later, they tell me I had this bullshit. So I'm like, I feel fine. Problem was, when I get sick, I don't eat. So every time I catch a cold, I'll lose like 5 or 10 pounds. Well, I didn't eat for like 2 weeks straight.
How much weight have you lost?
Thank God. Listen, I lost 25 pounds in like a week. My mother's a nurse. She's been a nurse for over 40 years. She came right over. She was like, we're getting you to the hospital. She dials 911. They take me to the hospital.
Now,
the first hospital.
Real quick, what made you think that you needed to go to the hospital?
Because I hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. Like literally, it was probably, when I say 2 weeks, I'm probably talking about 12 days. I would eat, but I wouldn't, not to skeeve out viewers, but nothing would stay down.
Okay.
So I was number 1 and number 2 in the liquid form.
Okay. And then were you having any issues with the breathing?
At that time, no. No issues. I've never had an issue. I've never really had an issue with the breathing until they brought me in because they wanted to put me on it. I did the plasma. And I did.
Where you got plasma from somebody who's recovered?
Exactly. I did the dosage of the plasma, and I'm currently on I'm going to butcher the name, the Redesivir.
I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's another experimental. Now, both of them are just meant to speed up the process of you going through everything that you're going through.
What about the trouble breathing and the cough and everything? Did you ever have that?
Well, see, that's the thing. I didn't have a single cough until I came into the hospital. I did not cough once until I came into the hospital. And I'm assuming that's because I wasn't keeping anything down, so I had no way of creating any kind of mucus or anything in my body to be able to expel.
What has the hospital been like for you? Are you in a private room? Are you in a room with other people?
I was in a private room. I got switched over to a room with a second person. That second person was much older than me, got sent back to a nursing home. And today, I found out today I'm leaving tomorrow. I get to go home. They had just brought in another patient.
How much do you think this is going to cost you?
That's a good question because I have no idea, because all they did was give my insurance card and say, I'll deal with it later. I really didn't care. I'd rather go into debt for $300,000 than die because I thought I couldn't afford it.
Absolutely. Do you know for a fact if you are on the hook or if the insurance will cover all of this?
No,
What
no,
type of insurance?
That I have no idea. I have been getting calls daily from the local health department because I guess they want to. Because from watching everything that you guys have done, like I'm assuming the local health department wants to know where I'm at in my status.
How long have you been in the hospital now?
I've been in the hospital since, we'll say, since the 6th.
Okay, so going on a full
May
month.
6th.
How have you been feeling? Have you been feeling better for the last few weeks?
I'd say the last week because I've been able to hold everything down, and they've been able to, once they gave me the plasma and I've been able to hold food down, I've been excellent.
It was weird for a while, man. We were bringing you up every single show, and we're like, why hasn't anybody heard from this guy? What happened? Oh my gosh, we heard he was in the hospital.
That's the other thing. I didn't want to bring it up at all just because of that, because I knew I was going to have a bad day, and you're not going to see me for a day, and then you're all going to think I'm dead. And then that's going to be really weird. Yeah. It's like, no, it's like.
Basically, I am so happy that I got to chat with you. It's great to see that you're doing okay. I didn't even know who you were or what you looked like until today. I just knew you as Photo Mike.
That's right, and I try to keep it that way.
Okay.
That way the deep state can't come after me.
Well, sorry, the deep state's watching. You are in a lot of trouble now.
Well, I don't know about that. You only got 5,000 viewers.
So true, so true. All right.
Boom.
Mike, it was good to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm sure everybody's going to be great. It's going to be great for everybody to hear that you're feeling much better. So thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
So.
Wow.
I did not know who that guy was. He had just been in our live chat from the very beginning, and I was worried about him. I think a lot of people were worried about him.
Yeah. I mean, he was there so many times and then just disappeared.
I know.
And
well,
what was the last message he left?
He popped back up and was like, I'm in the hospital, and then disappeared for weeks again. We were like, what the heck? So it was a crazy situation.
Ooh, well, it's kind of crazy to see that, because at times I almost forget that there's a pandemic going on. People like Photo Mike are being hospitalized.
I know.
And still fighting for their lives.
I know. It's so crazy, the different stuff that's going on. Darren Hong says, I like Patrick's sriracha look.
Is it a sriracha look?
Yeah, with the green and the red,
Should
definitely.
I go like Boston Bro?
Steve Robertson, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. He says, just dropping in to make my contribution for the cause. Thank you so much. Where have you been the last 4 or 5 shows? We haven't seen you. All right, are you ready to get into all the horrible stuff that's happening in the world?
We have a lot of videos tonight.
Yeah, we do. A lot of my videos are very short.
Okay.
And some of them are just kind of funny protest stuff, and some of them are very horrific protest stuff. But you want to start with this one that seems to be COVID related?
Start with the COVID.
Okay.
So with states across the country well into phased reopening plans, public health experts now fear massive protests could spark new coronavirus outbreaks due to the close proximity of so many demonstrators. Claudia Cowan is live in the San Francisco Bay Area with more. Claudia?
That's right, Arthel. It's a legitimate concern when you look at the pictures and consider there is virtually no social distancing and very few people are wearing masks. Add to that smoke from fires and tear gas, which makes people cough. You've got a deadly recipe there for possible new infections. But many protesters don't care. Others say they have no choice. Spence Ingram, a black woman in Atlanta who marched to the state capitol on Friday, said, quote, "It's not okay that in the middle of a pandemic we have to be out here risking our lives, but I have to protest for my life and fight for my life all the time." The mayor of Atlanta is urging demonstrators to get a COVID test this week. Health experts worry that silent carriers of the virus who don't show any symptoms may be infecting others without realizing it. In Minnesota, the epicenter of the violence, officials had this message.
We are still in the middle of a pandemic and past 1,000 deaths yesterday. We still have hospitals on the verge of being overrun with COVID-19.
We're in the middle of a pandemic right now. We have two crises that are sandwiched on top of one another.
It's also an issue from Paris to Hong Kong, where anti-government leaders accuse police of using social distancing rules to break up protests. There are now more than 6 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world. More than 367,000 have died, including 103,000 people here in the U.S., which has more than 1,700 cases. Overall, deaths here in the United States are trending down slowly, but a couple of states are still fighting to level off in terms of new cases, including Arizona, South Carolina, and here in California, where the numbers have been going up for a few weeks now. Even
All right, we get it. So 6 million cases. We missed that big milestone when we checked the numbers before each show.
They're just milestones because they're nice, clean numbers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
6 million.
We're human. We like that sort of thing.
Is that like a big milestone? I think it's 5 million and then 10 million.
Okay.
You can't do 6.
Okay. Ozark Water Park. I think I saw this clip yesterday, and I didn't put it in because it seemed kind of stupid, but I will play it, and then we can discuss why I think it's kind of stupid.
Tonight, hundreds of people possibly exposed to the coronavirus after someone who attended this Memorial Day weekend party tested positive for COVID-19. Now the county health department says the partier was likely incubating illness and possibly infectious on Saturday and Sunday at multiple party spots, including Backwater Jack's, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Shady Gators, even the taxi ride home.
I like that this guy partied hard. He was like, I cannot just go to one location. I must party at 3 locations and take a cab to and from.
Well, I never knew where this Ozarks was, but look at that river. That looks
awesome.
Pretty awesome.
I know.
I'm like,
I was
man,
like,
you
I
have a
gotta
jet
go
ski
visit
there. And
I know.
Seems like a good time to me.
I agree. The reason why I didn't put this clip in the video yesterday is because it's like one guy who happened to be at these parties I'm like, don't we expect one guy at every party that's that big
I would
to have it?
suspect there's going to be more than one guy.
That's my point. And then the idea, you know, they're making this crazy story out of it, but in reality, like, you don't know how many people he interacted with or whatever, and so I don't know.
He might have been that loser who couldn't get any of the girls and
That's
wasn't
why he
doing
was
the
jumping to the next
the beer
party.
bongs. And yeah, he was just a hanger on.
Exactly.
But
oh man, I mean, I tried to find coronavirus stuff, and I couldn't find anything. All I can find is just the craziest riot footage ever.
well, here's one thing I thought about. Maybe somebody in our WhatsApp group was saying this too. Is that it feels like everything's open now, right? Everybody's out, they're protesting, people are getting in fights, people are at restaurants. Like, it seems like America's more open now than ever. And so shouldn't we know if COVID-19 is going to be a issue continuing on in the next like 2 or 3 weeks?
You would think, wouldn't you?
Because people should be very sick after Memorial Day last week, and then after all the riots now, like, and I keep saying, you know, we'll see a lot of videos here. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tear gas, but I'm thinking, at what point are you and I going to be sitting in these chairs reading studies that say tear gas is associated now with massive amounts of deterioration with people who have COVID, and you're like, protesting could have been the dumbest thing you possibly could have done.
Well, again, it's not protesting, it's rioting. Protesters don't get tear gassed. Rioters get tear gassed. Looters get tear gassed. Steve Robertson says he's missed the last few shows because real life intervened. Well, what do you think this is, Steve? Come on, this is real life. Andrew Payne, he gives a super chat and says, keep up the good work, fellas. I look forward to these every day. Thank you so much, Andrew. We do appreciate it. All right, we ready to go dark now? This, I think I know this clip here.
But yeah, I do have all these things. Because we're fucking done with people like you. I have your opinion.
Took a punch on the chance.
just crazy what people will do in a group, you know? Like that guy just felt empowered to punch somebody because he had a whole group of people behind him.
I mean, I don't even know. You would think this guy's a Trump supporter, which doesn't warrant a punch to the face, but it just seems like he's holding an American flag. I don't know what he was saying, but once again, I mean, okay, I see a black woman right there, but there is not a single black person in this crowd. This just feels like punks and thug. I mean, you use the word thugs. A lot of times people say, oh my gosh, you're using a derogatory word for black people. These guys are thugs as well. And it reminds me of the mentality of like, you get punched to the ground and then all your homeboys come in and start beating you up while you're on the ground. Like, there's no reason for any, like this guy's punch to the face was inexcusable.
Did you get the next part that happens to this guy in the blue here?
No, I think he just kind of backs up. But is there
No,
more?
they attack him, and I...
You think that's worse than this one?
Oh, way worse.
Really?
I mean, I thought they could have killed the guy. I mean, they run up on this guy, punch him. He falls flat on his face on the ground.
He gets knocked out? Or?
Yes, and then somebody runs up and soccer kicks him in the head, and his teeth get knocked out.
No,
I don't know if I got that clip or not. There was that clip that was horrific. There's another clip of a female store owner that starts getting beat up by men because she's like, stop destroying my store. I don't even think I recorded it. I was like, this is too difficult to watch. I don't want to put this in there. But I can't remember if I got this guy or not.
So, I don't know.
Was there more to this video?
It goes on. I think they just continue to beat people up, but it's just, I don't know. I'm watching these videos. I'm just getting so like angry and depressed, and I'm thinking like, I understand the you know, the George Floyd protests, but when I see this stuff in Seattle with a bunch of, it feels like these are the, you know, the kids that are just well off already. You know, I said the other day, it feels like the Occupy movement. It's like these kids are, you know, they're not rich, but like they come from probably pretty good families. Seattle's an expensive place to live. And you just see them like, there's no mention, as you'll see a lot of these videos, there's no mention of doing this for George, for anybody, you know?
Yep.
They're just acting out just to act out. And it kind of gets to me after a while.
Yeah.
We're only a couple minutes into this show. Have you seen this video?
I don't know if I have.
This video goes on for like 5 minutes, and I start to fast forward it at times, but it appears that these guys have hot-wired all of these USPS trucks, and they're smashing the windows, and they're like plowing the trucks into the other cars, and here in a minute you'll see they like take them out and do donuts with them. And I'm like, how is it that easy to hotwire a car?
And do you not like the mail being delivered to you? It's just insane.
Well, and I believe, you know, messing with a mailbox is a federal offense. I'd have to believe that this could be a federal offense now, messing with USPS trucks. Not that that mattered. We burned down federal buildings a couple days ago. But, you know, I'm just looking at this, I'm thinking, how many people are going to have their deliveries? I think in this clip, there's like gunshots going off.
I just ordered something on Amazon today, and it said it's going to take a month to get to us.
Yeah.
Before USPS trucks have all been destroyed.
I buy so much off of eBay now. eBay, it ships.
I bought the last 2 things I bought off eBay have like shipped from China without me knowing, and it's going to take 2 months.
Yeah, you got to search by location.
I got to buy stuff only from Miami.
No, you can get stuff from LA in like 5 days, but you know, Amazon's pretty crazy. But I just look at this, I'm like, man, this stuff makes me so angry. It's like, you know, I get medicine delivered by USPS, you know, and luckily mine's by airplane, flown to Puerto Rico and then delivered, and nobody's protesting here in Puerto Rico, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But when I see this, I'm just like, how many people are going to be affected by this, you know?
And what is the point? Like, I understand being upset and saying we have to make a change, but then...
I don't think that's what a lot of this is. I feel like these are spoiled, entitled white kids that are trying to make Instagram stories and TikToks and trying to be bad and cool. They just feel like it's a free-for-all. Like, everyone's doing it, so I should do it.
All right, so now we're getting into some conspiracy stuff. Your favorite.
Politics.
The rioting that is occurring in many of our cities around the country, the voices of peaceful protest are being hijacked by violent radical elements. Groups of outside radicals and agitators are exploiting the situation to pursue their own separate and violent agenda. In many places, it appears the violence is planned, organized, and driven by anarchic and left extremist groups, far left extremist groups, using Antifa-like tactics, many of whom travel from outside the state to promote the violence.
That's our Attorney General making a statement. Somebody says here, 42010D says, Patrick's statement is the reason for the looting. Not everyone in Seattle is rich and can afford to live in the city. They are mad. Not saying looting is the way to go, but still. I mean, there's
ridiculous.
poor communities
Who
all over the
cares how
country.
poor or rich you are? You don't have the right to destroy USPS trucks. That has nothing to do with being poor.
You don't
That's
have the right to
stupid.
punch people in the face and then
I know.
basically almost kill them.
That's dumb. Old Dad Studio, Lee, you are wrong. The peaceful protesters have been gassed several times. I'm sure in some cases that is the case, but I can almost guarantee you that they are being gassed because nearby there are non-peaceful protesters.
Well, I have some videos in Charleston later, but it seems that, especially when the National Guard comes in, it seems like they are setting curfews. It's so strange. Like, we've been under curfew for like 3 months now. Our curfew alarm goes off every day at 7 o'clock. I was in Walmart the other night at right around 6:30, and just the whole store, everyone's phones go off at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Our phones have gone off every night for almost 3 months now to let us know we're not allowed to be outside anymore.
And you know, here they will, I don't know if they have, but they threaten to arrest you or give you fines if you break curfew. But all I'm trying to say is, some of these locations, they're now sending in the guard and saying, there is a curfew. Charleston had a curfew today at 6, which is well before sunset. You know, maybe an hour or so before the sunset. It's still daylight.
Yeah.
And they're telling you, you will be arrested if you do not leave right now.
Yeah.
And sure enough, at 6:15, they start firing the tear gas. And I'm like, that seems reasonable to me, you know?
Yeah, they warned you.
And they were super peaceful. We'll see the videos later, but...
well, maybe tonight they were, or this evening, but last night it was insane.
I got a whole Charleston thing, so...
Jay Miller says, what will it take to get a PPE man with a virus fist judo match on one of these streams? You know who is who. You're PPE man and I'm virus fist?
Judo match, so you can't use your
I
jiu-jitsu?
can't use my jiu-jitsu.
And I gotta like figure out how to throw. I mean, we'll destroy our set.
Every once in a while I do take a judo class, so I know more than you.
I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, though.
That is true.
So I will bust out some forms and do some kias.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make me get the nunchucks and the half-broken boards.
The pre-cut.
Dude, I had a testing for a belt once, and I didn't break my board. I had to like jump over somebody and do like a kick into a board, and they give you like 4 tries, and I like didn't break the board. And then the next kid's like a 6-year-old, and he has to do like a front kick. He misses the board, and the board snaps, and I'm like, this is such a scam. Like, why am I doing? But you know, by that point I was like purple belt, and it's like, you've already gotten this far, you might as well finish.
You're like, bro, I'm paying you the same monthly fee. Can you break the board when I'm air kicking it too, please?
Oh, and the air kick for me, it was like they had 2 other black belts, like, you know, holding it, bracing it, and they're like got all their weight in there. And like, I hit this thing pretty good, at least twice out of the 4 or 5 times, but it just didn't break.
So do you not get the belt?
I didn't get the belt.
Oh, wow.
I had to wait like another
suck.
2 months or 3 months to like do the next testing. And it was the only one I failed, but the kid like did a kick and missed and board broke, and I was like, okay.
All right. Here's a video about Trump.
And you know that President Trump had already tweeted, quote, it's Antifa and the radical left. Don't lay the blame on others. So is it fair to ask, John Bussey, is President Trump base baiting?
I think you've seen this before. from the president. He has a tendency to jump the gun on blaming other groups for problems that are much trickier to handle, that require a lot of leadership. We're not seeing a great deal of that right now. It was kind of a president going to watch a rocket launch in Florida, as opposed to perhaps going to Minnesota and to talking to activists there, talking to the governor there, talking to people there. So this is not uncommon. You saw also a similar problem emerge from the Charlottesville demonstrations in 2017, where there were right-wingers there, and the president was kind of loath to really blame the white supremacists who participated in that activity there. So I would just caution everyone to try to step away from the politics. The president unfortunately has a credibility problem already on a number of issues. A lot of falsehoods that come out of the White House, but you're seeing some similar reactions on the Democratic side as well. I think that in moments of turmoil like this, best to step back and wait for the facts to come out. This notion that the country's in chaos, the country's not in chaos. There are riots in a number of cities across the United States, but if most people look out their window, they'll see that the country is operating normally. The trick now is to quell the problem, not inflame it. Some of the language coming out of the White House, I think you could argue, has inflamed it, this notion of...
Yeah, I think you could potentially say that. You know, I do want to say to everybody, especially who, you know, lives in other countries and watches this stuff and goes like, oh my God, America's done lost their mind. When you watch the news, you are watching and you watch this show, you're watching a concentration of the craziest stuff that's happened from all over the country, all in like one short period of time.
I like to believe we have the best show for that.
That is true.
We've gotten all the crazy clips.
We pack it in. But I remember...
The majority of places aren't experiencing this at all.
Absolutely not. And I mean, one of the most horrific killings to ever happen was the Dylan Roof murders that happened in Charleston, just a couple miles from both of our homes. And I remember you texting me the night that it happened and just saying, dude, there's police and cops everywhere. What is going on?
Were you out or something?
I don't think so. I just never watched the news. I just didn't care.
Yeah. I remember helicopter lights going through the neighborhoods.
Yeah, so I was probably like in my hot tub or something. Like, I just didn't care. And then maybe you said, like, some guy went to a church and killed some people. And I was like, oh, man, that's crazy. But I, again, just didn't really think about it and process it. I don't even think I had cable TV. So I never watched a single clip about it. And then the next day, I went downtown to just get some food. Like, I didn't even know anything about it. I went to, like, a restaurant that was right around the block from the church. There's all these people out there, and I was like, what's going on? Oh, maybe I had to do the shooting or something. You know, I didn't know who died. I didn't know anything. And then I saw some friends, and I was like, hey, how's it going, guys? And they looked really upset, and I was like, what is going on? And they were like, oh, we were just at the, vigil for the shooting. And I was like, oh, yeah, I need to look into that. You know what happened? Anyway, long story short. I was completely, like, zoned out of what was going on.
Sounds like it.
And then I looked into it and was like, oh man, this is really bad or whatever. But when I started talking to friends and family, you know how it is when something crazy happens in your city, all of a sudden people start calling you,
Are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Were you in the church? And I was just like, oh yeah, it's like a really horrific thing, but I still wasn't glued to the news like, for instance, my parents were. Everything in the news was about that shooting in Charleston, the corner, and helicopter shots and everything. So from my parents' perspective, like, Charleston was a war zone and it was shut down.
Yeah.
And blah, blah. But from my perspective, it was like, oh no, it's just like there's just some people right on that one corner over there. Everything else about our whole city is exactly the same. This is maybe a bad example, but my point is that even though we've got some clips coming up of Charleston, insane stuff happening last night, I'm sure there's going to be some insane stuff that happens tonight. It's still such a small portion of the city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, people were like, is your home going to be okay? And I'm like, I am off of King Street, but I'm like a left and then a right and then a left. Like, I'm in a neighborhood that there should be no chance of protesters being there at all. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, But it feels like they're all congregating on the main streets where they're going to be viewed the most. And so I talked to my parents back in Enterprise, Alabama. It's a town of 20,000. They're like, yeah, nothing's going on here. And this is what kind of I don't understand. It's like, if everyone's so outraged by this, then you would think there would be some protests in little towns too, especially in racial areas like the South and Alabama. You know, we've had some of the worst civil rights.
If you're really upset, you're going to go to the nearest big city and try to get your face on the news.
Maybe. I just feel like people, if you really want to protest, you want to let your local police know that we are not okay with this. So it seems like if you're from Montgomery or Selma or Birmingham, maybe Birmingham had something going on. It's a big enough city. But when you're in a tiny town, you would still think that somebody would be standing out with signs or something. You know, but it feels like this is all just concentrated in much larger cities. I mean, Charleston's one of the smaller cities that I feel like this has, you know, come to.
Yeah.
But
Z23 Studio says Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was crazy last night. Scary times. Yeah, I hope it's calmed down tonight. But I mean, I feel like when people see these crazy videos and stuff and they realize that everyone's getting away with it, it just kind of incentivizes them to like, let's do it tonight. Maybe.
I keep thinking it's going to snow. Like, I've never seen I mean, has America ever had riots like this in this many cities?
That's the thing. I've seen worse riots, certainly, but never so compartmentalized, like spread out.
Minneapolis. I mean, I've never seen like, remember that multi-story building that collapsed?
Yeah,
that was an
crazy.
Apartment building.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then you had the Target, and you had the AutoZone. Like, that was the police department the next night. That's some of the craziest riots I've seen. Obviously, LA fared much worse in the 90s.
Jeff says, sorry guys, gotta go. I'll catch the replay watching the live feed of the escalation in downtown San Diego last night. There were buildings burned all around my house and helicopters kept my kids up. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, so this is a really horrific clip, so
warning.
Yeah, don't watch this if you don't want to see it.
This guy in the white pants has a sword.
And he is protecting his store?
But that's the narrative. That's the story that everyone seems to be sharing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy.
It's like American History X type stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw this last night, and they thought he died. Now, I think maybe this guy survived, but I think as of earlier today, 3 or 4 people have been killed throughout the country in these riots.
Really?
Yeah. Minneapolis had a shooting. Several places had people that were shot, and they were not shot from police. They were other guns involved in the.
That's what I'm talking about. And the thing is, like, if you own a house or a business or whatever, and there is a mob of people outside throwing bricks and rocks at you through your window, I mean, I feel like you have the right to defend yourself at that point. And then
but where do you draw the line?
Right, like what weapon
somebody
is
comes
allowed?
In, you're allowed to shoot them, but you can't shoot the people like, I don't believe.
What if they're what if they've broken the windows already and they are throwing rocks at you? Or like, maybe you could hide, but what if you have kids in there and they're throwing rocks at your kids? I know I'm making up hypotheticals right now, but there must, like, those are weapons being thrown in. That guy had a samurai sword.
But he's now running in the street.
Exactly.
Maybe he's to blame for that to some degree, but you know, you just see these people, they just break the windows and everyone starts running in. I mean, what if you were in the back, the storage room as a worker,
right,
thinking like, I hope they don't get in, and then they do. I mean, you'll see these mobs of people, they will just beat the crap out of you for being a store owner. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Everybody, these people, in my generation, this isn't the answer. You want to come here and go get down? This isn't it. I can't permit nothing. Do it right. Not the answer. And anybody that's doing it is not standing on behalf of the black. Hey, is anyone hurt? It's not. It's not. Anyone hurt? Listen to me as a black man. Okay. This isn't the answer. making us look bad. This isn't it. This isn't how we do it. Protest all you want. Protest all you want. Violence is not going to get us nowhere. Nowhere. Listen to me. All the employees out of here.
And that's the thing. I mean, I'd love to hear from more black people from the community who would address this idea that this just doesn't feel like any of this is being done in memory or in support of George Floyd, you know?
Yeah. And
in many cases, like I don't want to say you can't protest that if you're not black, but when you see these protests going on, these riots and these beatings, and it's just all these white people, it's like, and you don't see any signs anywhere. It just feels very, very strange.
Like, here's another clip similar.
Don't police people's way of
Let me tell you this.
themselves.
This is not a black woman who's putting Black Lives Matter. I just want you to know that when... Right, but y'all doing that for us and we ain't asked you to do that. Listen, don't spray stuff on here when they gonna blame black people for this and black people didn't do it.
Like, who are these girls and why would they do this? I wish I could understand what they were saying, because they're obviously trying to defend themselves, but are they thinking they're helping the cause? Are they in on this and they're trying to instigate something? Like, they seem too young to have some ulterior motive.
I think our society is struggling with a sense of self-identity, and in many ways, like, I think this is like the culture. This is what social media has done. This is what Instagram's done.
I don't know. I don't see people vandalizing stuff on social media.
I think people don't feel connected to other people, and I think people don't feel good about themselves, and they don't find validation from their immediate friends and family, and they feel like they need to go out and they need to get likes and they need to make these viral videos and they need to, like, be part of a movement that might not even be their movement. And I just feel like there's this disease within American culture where people don't feel like they stand for anything and they don't feel like they're successful and they don't feel valued at their jobs, you know? I think there's all of this going on, and some of it's valid, you know? I understand, like, corporate America does not make people feel good about themselves. It feels like you're a disposable person in the system. I think there's something deeper going on, you know? And I would say maybe 30% of this is, you know, Black Lives Matter. Maybe 30% of this is being cooped up from coronavirus. Coronavirus also includes maybe you've seen a friend or family member die and you're dealing with the grieving of that. Maybe the final 30% is just the fear of not having a job and not having money. Like, I think it's a bunch of stuff.
If that's true, then wouldn't you be worried about catching it yourself and spreading it, and so you wouldn't want to go out and be
Not if you're told that, you know, my grandmother was old and I'm young and statistically I'm not going to die from it, but, like, I'm just upset. Or I think I already gave up 30%, so maybe I have 10% left.
Yeah.
Maybe 10%, really, more than that, is you're politically upset about the president and about the situation of the world. And, you know, I don't always know that America is in a worse place politically than we were. But the media makes you believe that we are, you know. In some cases, people are being taxed less. In some cases, healthcare is better than it was 10 years ago. In many cases, like, we are better today than we were 10, 20, 30 years ago for a lot of people. But there's also home ownership for people our age and younger is at an all-time low. There's a lot of things going on in America that I think contribute to this. But it's shameful because, like I think they were saying in that video clip, we're going to get blamed, the black girls are going to get blamed for all of this destruction when we aren't the ones that are doing it, you know? And I think that's the real sadness in all of this, is that everything is getting thrown out of proportion, and it's not about a cop killing a black man anymore. It's about so many other things. And now we're at the point where real people are dying. Like, one guy died from a cop, but multiple people are dying around the country from all this other violence, you know, and it's just really unfortunate.
Skylord Jarvis says, keep up the good work. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm located in Asheville, North Carolina. We had protests, but they were peaceful this weekend. However, blocked the highway today, and we're still peaceful. Guess that's kind of good. I'm never down for blocking the highway. That's super annoying. Rick says, a more positive view. Flint, Michigan police join in the protest. Yeah, we might try to play this in a little bit. I think, did they take off their outfit and walk? I think I saw this clip. Let's see which one we have next. I don't think I've seen this.
Please, I'm begging for mercy. I'm begging you. I already took a lot of hits. Please. Please.
So this clip isn't visually the most exciting thing, but this guy right behind this power thing is the owner of a bike shop in Charleston. This is on King Street. And he's just saying, like, begging them, please do not destroy my store. I've already taken so many hits over the last few weeks. He's probably one of those guys that very easily could say, I may not be able to keep my rent and stay in business. Like, he might be on the brink of it. And then these guys are going to come in here and destroy his bike shop. And
do they still destroy it?
I don't know if they do. I don't know what happens after that. I mean, you can see, though, if his bike shop gets windows blown out, everyone's going to take the inventory. Like, the bike is the first thing people, I mean, it's hard keeping a bike on my porch in Charleston. And so, I don't know, you just feel for these people when you're like, look, I'm not the bad guy, you know? It's not me that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If they're attacking USPS trucks, there's no hope.
That starts kind of your Charleston clips, but I missed one. Here's NYPD charge barricade.
This is pretty crazy.
Yeah. See, I mean, look, they're starting to surround the car, and then people start throwing stuff at the car. It's one police officer versus an entire mob of people that are potentially willing to hurt him. He doesn't know. What are his options here? You know, it's like somebody is going to get hurt.
So when I look at this, I feel like the cop car that came on the bottom just kept a 3 or 4 mile an hour acceleration and people could move or not move.
Yeah.
But the guy above clearly hits the gas hard and knocks that barricade out.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I feel that outraged by that. I mean, you can't block police officers from getting somewhere, and then you're attacking the car. What do you expect? I don't know.
Go to the Apple TV, because I forgot to record this clip, but this is one that I think we should share.
So, do you need sound for this?
Yeah, sound is good. Have you seen this clip?
I did see this clip.
So apparently these guys, I don't even know where this is. They're just like in a neighborhood, which is scary because I haven't seen too many protesters inside the neighborhoods. But all these cops are just yelling at everyone to get inside. I'll be quiet so they can hear.
Let's go! Light them up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in, person on the porch.
Get in.
What are they firing? Is it paintballs?
Paintballs with pepper spray inside.
Are you okay? Right on the fucking crotch. Are you okay? You got hit? I'm good.
I don't know. I see stuff like that, and I think like that's pretty crazy. You know, that we're.
Yeah, shooting people on their own property.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because we would all do that. We would all be on the porch waiting to see what's happening and asking questions. And, you know, many of us, if you're a photographer, you might actually pick up a camera and go run and try to do some documentary stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But it just seems like it's a little over the top.
All right, here's Upper King Street in our hometown, Charleston. I loved both of those restaurants.
I've never been to Cork, the one on the
Is it
left.
corked or uncorked?
Uncorked, I haven't been in there. Is that a wine bar?
It's the only place, yeah, in Charleston that you go in and they give you the credit card thing, and then you can taste all the different wines and you can just get little bits. It's awesome.
Yeah, Rare Bit. That's like used to be my spot for late night food.
Yeah.
Do you think the Ginny's across the street got hit? Because that would break Katie's heart.
Yeah, that's Katie's favorite restaurant on planet
Well,
Earth.
this is from my favorite restaurant, and this is the craziest clip I think I've seen, at least in Charleston.
Yeah, so this is Hall's Chop House. This is our favorite restaurant. We filmed videos here. If you saw, like, our behind
Joey
the
Wright.
scenes. Yeah.
We take Joey and Mike Kelly. Anytime we film a tutorial with somebody, this is always where we take them to have a final celebratory meal.
So this is the owner.
I don't know if it's the owner or if it was a bartender, but somebody, or a server, somebody associated with the restaurant comes out with a gun. And there's other clips where people are throwing stuff. This particular restaurant has a big wood door, but it does have windows. The protesters are throwing stuff at the door. And, as you saw, King Street was almost every window. So many windows were destroyed on the street. And so as people are protesting and just throwing things at the store, the guy comes out and just fires a gun in the air. And you have to say, there's people out there that are saying, like, good for him. He's standing up for his business, and there was patrons inside, and, like, he's scaring the protesters off, and I don't think anything came of it.
Well, real quick. I mean, when we looked at Rarebit, when they were throwing the stuff through the windows, there were people inside.
There were people inside. Could you imagine how scared you would be?
Are these customers?
I don't know if they were customers or if they were just the staff and employees that...
Because you told me, or someone told me, that during, like, when things started getting out of hand...
We had tweets or text messages coming in from people that were saying, like, I have to stay in a restaurant.
Yeah, they will not allow us to go out in the streets because it's unsafe, so I don't want to be in this restaurant anymore, but they won't let me out. So there could have been normal customers in there trying to eat, and people are crashing through the windows throwing stuff.
Yeah. I mean, but it's very unlawful to be shooting a handgun into into the air.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
could he have had blanks? Is that any less illegal?
I mean, if he had, I don't know who carries around blanks with them, but yeah, I mean, what if he shot at the ground? Is that safer than shooting into the air, maybe? Or does that bounce up and hit somebody?
Halls has released a statement that was very bland and just kind of well crafted.
Yeah,
but I don't know if anyone in Charleston is going to prosecute them for doing that. But my thought is, here we are in the third or fourth day of this stuff. I think, I heard somebody saying, were you saying there's like lines around the stores to buy guns? I think, like, tomorrow I am buying gun stock. Like, I'm going to buy, it's Smith & Wesson has changed their name. They're actually changing their name back. Interesting Smith & Wesson story is happening tomorrow. But I'm going to buy some gun stock, so I'm going to think, like, man, everyone's going to go out and buy guns after this. And I feel like it's only going to escalate and get worse. I'm still waiting for this to turn into something really, really bad.
Yeah. All right, so here, Jake and Logan Paul's dad.
Do you know?
These are YouTubers.
Yeah, do you know these guys?
I said.
Here's what's even worse. People continuing to create more violence on other innocent people doesn't bring George back. Burning down a building, flipping over somebody's car, shooting somebody randomly in the street does not bring George back. And if you're participating to the violence and other bullshit, you're wrong too. And if you're participating to it, you're wrong. Violence doesn't get corrected with more violence. Here's what.
So he's obviously against it, but did his son go out and cause a ruckus as well?
Oh my God!
Well, they're out there vandalizing P.F. Chang's, which is dear to my heart. He's also a multi-million. I mean, it's sick to think how much money these guys make on YouTube. Like they
they're probably making millions per month.
Yeah.
So now, are you sure that I mean, this says he was looting, but
so he
is that
had a
true?
whole stream of stuff. So I just picked this video because it showed a few different things in one shot. But if you go to the next video, like he's in a mall, like there's a lot of clips of him. You can go look them up. But like he's in a mall, and it's hard to say if he is looting, but he's clearly with people that are friends of his. And he's clearly not supposed to be in this mall. So it's like on the fringe of...
He's trespassing.
He's trespassing. I don't know how involved he is here. This guy recognizes him.
It does, right? No, that's Logan. Logan Paul? Yeah, Logan Paul. Huh? I swear to God. I swear to God. Yeah, Logan. Yeah, Logan. Wait. Yeah, go. Nigga, that's not Logan Paul. Oh, shit. Go.
You know, and earlier in the video, he's like telling people to get stuff out of the store for him. Hey, give me a bottle of cologne and all this.
He's joking, right?
Maybe. I don't know where the line is here. I don't know at what point are you just documenting stuff.
Yeah.
But when are you an influencer and you're making content for your own channel? It's just a very weird, slippery slope. But at the same time, like, you know, you're going to see these YouTubers out there doing this kind of stuff.
Some more clips from Charleston.
So this is a few hours ago.
You got hit?
So they were asked to leave. They didn't, so they started shooting
So
tear
they were
gas and stuff.
peacefully protesting, and there's lots of videos showing that they are doing nothing wrong. But Charleston instituted a 6 o'clock curfew and has what looks like the National Guard. I mean, this could be the local police, but they got some military trucks back there. And, you know, this is about 6:15, so they've already warned everyone. You will be arrested if you continue to stay on private property. This is apparently not public property, this park.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so they have asked everyone to leave. No one left. And at that point, they start shooting the tear gas. And, you know, it's like you're breaking curfew. So I don't know. I understand that, like, you want to say curfew seems unconstitutional and it's tyranny, you know, and all of this. But they warned you, you know. They told you to leave.
Yeah.
Last night, we had all this looting and all of this stuff going on. It feels like at some point the police are going to step up and say, all right, last night we let you get away with some stuff. Tonight, we're not playing around. And I think that's the fear last night for some cities, tonight for a lot of cities. What's tomorrow night going to look like?
Yeah.
I think if this just keeps escalating, you're pushing these cops to, and these, you know, politicians and these people that govern the cities, store owners, a lot of people in the towns will probably say, like, enough is enough. At some point, you're going to get a pushback. And I feel like that's coming. I don't know. I don't feel like this is ending anytime soon. This feels much bigger than anything we've ever dealt with. And just as one thing I just wanted to share with this is what it looked like after the tragedy you mentioned earlier. The Emmanuel shooting in Charleston, where a very racist guy went in and murdered people in their own church.
Yeah.
This is what it looked like just a few years ago in the same town that you saw all this crazy protest. I don't recall any protests. Maybe there were some marches, maybe. But there was no looting. There was no destroying of the city. Everyone that was in that shot right there is all from Charleston. It's all local.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was one of the saddest days I've ever experienced in my life.
Me too.
As a city. Yeah, you hardly even knew
about
it
I didn't know it
until a day or
happened.
two later. But, you know, as a city, it just felt like, man, this is heavy stuff that we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people would say, you know what, the police arrested him, and they were kind to him, and they took him, I think, to a Burger King to get food before they booked him, and he was treated very differently than what a lot of people of color would be treated in America.
That is such a ridiculous argument to me.
Why is that a ridiculous argument?
Because I can find a billion videos of black people being treated great by the police, and I can find footage of black people who killed people being treated very nice by the police. So it's ridiculous to point at one thing and be like, aha, proof of racism right there. Like, that's
Well, the
stupid.
other night I was watching CNN, and they had the woman walking through the streets of Minneapolis, and she starts talking to some of the guys who were protesting. And they were mentioned, I think I talked about this the other day, it's like they mentioned a killing that somebody talked about in the comments at the beginning of the show. A cop, a black cop, who killed a white woman by accident. Or I don't know the circumstance. It was one of those, he acted out of fear, pulled a trigger, and killed a white woman. And he went to jail for first-degree murder, I think. Maybe it was third-degree murder. He went to jail for like 7 or 8 years. And these guys were saying, this cop needs to be charged and go to jail too, and that other cop needs to be released. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. You want the black cop to be released for doing basically the same thing? Like, they should both be in jail for 7 to 12 years. I don't know what the time is. That's where it's a little slippery of a slope.
Well, I just saw a video. I don't know if you saw this. This was all over Twitter today, but I think last year, 2019, maybe it's 2018, but I think it was 2019. There's police cam footage that is out on the internet right now of police with their knee in a white guy's back. I think he's handcuffed. And the guy has said, like, I can't breathe, you're going to kill me. And they do. I don't know if he suffocates or like he might have had some pre-existing condition. I don't know. But there's this long video of these cops with their knee in his back, and they're like, oh man, he stopped breathing, haha. And they're making jokes as this guy died, like right under their knee. It's not the same situation by any means, but it is a little weird that, like, I have never once heard of that situation.
Yeah. Well, I was in an argument earlier about just the number of people that are killed by police, and by far more white people are killed by police. But when you start looking at the population percentage, they're not the same. If blacks only make up like 15 or 20% of the U.S. population, way more are killed by population than by raw numbers, you know? There's just so many more whites in America that they, of course, are killed more by police.
Yeah, but the crime rate's much higher in the black community as well, so you would expect...
Maybe you can make arguments that there's reason, like, it's all systemic, you know? It's like white people aren't arrested for drug possession at the same rate that black people are.
True.
So then you say, well, there's more crime in black neighborhoods, but it's like, yeah, but those aren't the same either, you know? So I see the arguments there, but it just, and the thing that scares me about all of this is just the beginning. I mean, maybe it'll be a year or two from now, maybe longer, but we still have to have these guys arrested, go on trial, and then a verdict read.
Yeah.
And could you imagine if the verdict comes back?
I know.
It's like, that's what caused the Rodney King beating, I believe, right? Was the verdict, or was it the footage of the video initially? I'd have to go back and look at my history. But the
I thought it was right after the video.
Maybe after the verdict was read, he came out and he had to persuade his community. Hey guys, like, I know this isn't what we wanted, but like, we've already destroyed our city previously when I was beat, you know, but.
Here's a crusader who's come to save the day.
How is this guy not getting jumped? Wouldn't everyone want to beat Batman up?
No, nobody's touching Batman. Are you crazy? Everybody's very happy that Batman is there.
Oh gosh, did we not show that video? This is like the craziest video I've seen.
Yeah, so I didn't get the best angle of this, but this is the bow and arrow man. And I guess maybe I'll just show the video of this guy getting beat up. He pulls a bow and arrow on somebody and like pulls the string back. Is that what it's called? Pulls the bow back?
Yeah.
And then this mob just takes him, and then I have a quick interview with him afterwards on what he says happened.
This is in Salt Lake City.
Yo, someone knock this fucker out, man. Yeah, bro. Get this motherfucker, man. Fuck up.
So they end up
police come
pull him away, maybe save his life. Who knows what the crowd was willing to do. They end up, I think, torching his car, setting his car on fire. And then this is a quick interview with that guy afterwards who explains what happened.
When they turned it over?
No, they didn't. I don't know if they turned it over or not. They beat me up, and the cops came and got me.
You were in the car at the time?
Yes, and then they torched it after the cops took me, including my phone. I can't even call for a ride. So I've been marching with these people all the way down here and all the way down here, trying to convince them all lives matter. These cops didn't do it. Some cops are bad, some cops are...
How did you get hurt on your forehead?
Because I yelled out my window, cops...
Did somebody hit you with something?
Yes, 2 black and African Americans. They beat me through my open window that I yelled out, all lives matter.
I mean, I feel like this guy, by yelling that, is probably trying to instigate something.
Sure.
But, in no way does that warrant punching someone in the face. And then, does getting punched in the face then warrant you pulling out a bow and arrow and pointing it at someone? I honestly do not know. If you are in fear for your life, I feel like bringing out a weapon at some point, and I'm not saying that's the point, but at some point it is warranted. And this is the thing that we're seeing with the guns at Hall's Chop House and the samurai sword and this guy with the bow and arrow. It's like people are just going to get killed. Like, this is what happens when you start punching people in the middle of the street and start throwing shit through windows in the middle of the street. Yeah. People will get killed eventually. So
I wonder when, like, certain states have laws where you can just pull a gun out. It's like the open carry laws. You can have a gun on you. I mean, we showed a video before of black people with, guns protecting their storefronts.
Yeah.
And many people would say, that's a good sight to see. We're seeing black people with guns carrying handling them openly without being harassed by the police, and they're protecting their own business. Like, that seems like, for some people, that's a good thing, Other people might be horrified by that. But when you take an arrow and you pull back the bow, is that now is it the same as having a loaded gun? Or
it feels more dangerous because it feels like if somebody hits you from behind, you'd let go or something.
Yeah, it feels like maybe that's like a step further than just having a gun with your finger across, in the safety position.
Carl says, you guys seriously need some POC on, what is POC?
People of color, Lee.
People. On to discuss this with you, like you did with your photog friend about COVID-19, because you appear to believe that there isn't a criminal justice problem with people of color. There absolutely is. What are they saying? A criminal justice problem that people of color commit more crimes, or are...
This is why.
What is
so out of touch? It's just that people of color are treated poorly in America. They're pulled over more. They are arrested at a higher rate. Like, all of these things that they're upset with.
Sure.
He's just saying we should have somebody on as a guest who could enlighten the conversation a little bit more.
I'm pretty enlightened.
You're pretty enlightened. You're like, POC, is that like a video game?
Dude, I've never heard anybody say POC.
Well, when you have a super chat and you only have so many characters.
Okay, fine. People are going to say I'm a racist because I don't know what POC stands for. Here's some bright protesters here. I don't know if you've seen this. We'll go full screen here.
Oh. Why were they doing it to this guy? Or were they just trying to hit
No, they were just trying to push it. They didn't know that somebody was there.
What is the law of inertia? Once you push an object, it takes an equal or greater force to change its direction?
Yeah. Let's see what else I got. Here's another lighthearted video. This shows some of the protests going on in the United Kingdom.
Wow, he's got the move. Please tell me someone tackles him and beats the crap out of him. No?
No, I think everybody was into it. Like, I don't think there's serious protests going on in the UK, so that was just a clip of somebody dancing.
Well, do you think, I mean, there's this thread in American history that people of color have been unfairly prosecuted and that sort of thing. But I have to believe, I mean, like, did that happen? It's not just an American thing, right? Like, did it happen? I mean, people always talk about slavery in America, but there was so much slavery everywhere else too, you know?
Sure.
When they discovered South America and the islands like we're in here now, I mean, slaves were shipped everywhere. Middle East has tons of slavery. So I wonder, like, are people in the UK upset about what they're seeing in the United States as well? Or do people, maybe you guys can answer this question for me. People in other countries, do they feel like our cops aren't racist and they don't do those things to people of color, and therefore we're just looking at America from the outside being like, man, it's crazy over there? Or why are people in the UK protesting as well, but they have such a different way of protesting, you know? Is it just because it's a different government and they're not going to be able to, like, they would never vandalize their town because, you know what I'm trying to say here? You don't understand what I'm trying to say? People are obviously, like, protesting here hoping that something comes out of this. I don't know what's going to come out of it. It's not like you can pass a law necessarily. You're just asking police officers to treat people better. But you're doing it in a very negative way that I feel like makes police officers now they're not going to treat you better.
Yeah, of course.
They might even treat you worse.
Yeah,
like, there might be a bad repercussion from this.
Yeah.
But in other countries, if you go to the UK, do people of color in the UK feel like, yes, our police, there's police brutality against us here too, and that this would be a movement that would spread across the world? Or is this just something unique to America and the police in America?
I'm sure there's at least hints of racism in every country, but I don't know. I feel like the answer is more police and body cams on all the time.
Here's my biggest argument. I just feel like, look what happened in Brunswick with the two guys that shot the jogger. There was no protest. There was nothing of that sort. Maybe there was locally, but we didn't really hear about that. Instead, the video footage came out, and through social media, people protested, and they brought it to the forefront, and then the authorities there arrested the guys, and it worked out without any kind of violence. I feel like the same thing would have happened with this in Minneapolis, right? We all would have saw that video. We all would have been outraged. Those guys would have eventually, the police department would have felt the pressure, we have to charge this guy. They wind up charging him. Like, you hear Martin Luther King and these great civil rights leaders say, like, violence is not the answer. And now we have a greater megaphone than ever. We have social media, we have video footage of everything that happens now. I just wonder
Yeah, but I mean, that jogging thing went viral because the video was so insane, you know?
You don't think this video was insane of George? That was as insane as...
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, maybe more egregious. You're saying that the video alone should stand by itself and there's no need for the protests?
I just, you know, I don't want to tell people not to get out and protest. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm just saying we are destroying our country. We are creating a bigger rift within race relations in America. We are destroying businesses. We are putting people in the hospital. Like, there is so much negative stuff coming out of this that I just wonder, especially with the COVID thing still going on, we shouldn't be necessarily assembling the way that we are. If this could something good not have come out of just doing a demonstration through social media? That's all I'm saying.
I think something good could have come of that, but it certainly wouldn't have gotten the eyeball. I mean, the entire world is watching this.
I just don't know what is the reaction. Is it like if we burn down the whole country like police officers, the 99.9% that are good police will say, you know what, I see now. My eyes are open.
I agree.
I just don't know what the reaction should be, you know? I feel like this is going to cause a worse reaction. I think police are going to be more brutal for the next couple years because they have frustration of, remember when I did nothing wrong in little town Charleston, and all of a sudden, like, I had to deal with all these protesters?
It's not just that. It's this idea that people have that, you know, the police are unsafe, or the police are trying to kill me, or the police are always out to get me, and therefore I'm completely justified with resisting the police, or screaming at the police, or fighting with the police. And that is what usually leads to all the problems. You know what I mean? If we could have people that respect the police, the police respect the people, and have the body cams on, and you know that if they treat you unfairly, you simply go to the court and you say, I request the footage, I want him to be fired, and the court watches it, and boom, he's out of there. Like, that is such an easy, simple...
I think that's a little bit of wishful thinking.
How is that so wishful?
Because, like we were talking about the other day, I think, like, when you work with all these people and you're a judge and you see these officers every day in your court for little tickets and contesting stuff, you know, I feel like you have a relationship with them and you say, you know what, like, I'm not going to come down hard on this guy because he pulled somebody out of a car that he shouldn't have pulled somebody out of the car.
But, you know, it's so
hard to break that.
We need to have laws then that allow, like, if something goes to trial, then the body cam footage becomes public. And now we can see 5 video clips that have come under scrutiny from the same officer, and now we have, you know, some uprising. It could be social media based. So I'm like, look at what this guy's been doing. He's got a history of this. We cannot allow him to be...
I know, but then that also goes against the idea of having a fair trial. Like, they're already debating this in Minneapolis. Like, they got to find jurors who haven't been influenced by all of this and know nothing about the case. It's the reason you don't want evidence to come out into the public necessarily, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a very slippery slope, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you get out of this. I just feel like more bad is going to come out of this than good. I don't see how we're going to just make police feel like, you know, and again, it's like one bad apple out of like 1,000. But within the 1,000, they also aren't willing to turn on the one bad apple. Like, that's also a part of the problem.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's no way to solve the problem with all of this. And in the meantime, everyone else is getting hurt. When they have to go back to their communities and they've burned down all their buildings, or somebody has burned down their buildings, even if it's like the white guys, like, there's a debate if it's Antifa or maybe it's Trump supporters that are doing all of this. It's like they still have to go back and deal with their community.
It's so insane.
We have to deal with the USPS not delivering as much now. We're going to have to deal with all the people that are going to be hospitalized for both the battery and the assault, but also potentially getting COVID. Like, there's just so much badness coming out of all of this.
And you know, yesterday how I was joking about people are going to blame George Soros? Like, I just made up some name that people always blame. 2 people today told me that they thought George Soros was paying for all of this to happen. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I was literally joking when I said his name yesterday, and that is a theory that George Soros has paid for all this to happen.
I mean,
and then this.
I think there could be some truth.
Oh, my God.
Not in this.
Oh,
like,
my God. Get out of here.
There's got to be something that George Soros did once upon a time that feeds into this. There's got to be.
I don't even really know who George Soros is.
So
like,
how can you begin?
Because they blame him for everything. Every possible thing. It's George Soros. He's paying for it. He's shutting. It's like the go-to name for all conspiracy theory guys. George Soros is.
Well, I don't think we have any clips of this, but did you see Anonymous came back today?
Oh, God. What are they going to do now? Are they helping?
They're just saying that, like, the police are doing this, and we're going to release videos. They're talking about how, like, our education system in America is built to dumb down people so that they stop aspiring to be artists and creative people, and that they just work for.
I agree with
that.
They
work for a corporation mind-numbingly without knowing anything. Like, most people don't know how to do taxes. They don't know how a credit card works. They don't know how compound interest works. They know nothing about investing. They don't know how to buy a house. Like, most of Americans are pretty dumb. And Anonymous just goes on to say this, this, and this. I think they start saying that, like, Trump was involved with Epstein, and we have proof that, like, he's being blackmailed by Russia because he has said all these. I don't know, like, but
PP tapes. They got to release the PP tapes.
Anonymous is back, and it's just, we live in such a crazy world right now.
Well, this clip isn't crazy at all. This is very reasonable. This is a man spanking a mannequin in the middle of a highway during the protest.
I mean, for all we know, that's just downtown LA.
Like on a normal day.
Yeah, I mean, that guy just might
has
have
nothing to do with anything. What else do we got? Oh,
you got this video. I forgot to get this.
yeah, this one, you know,
This is when
you can go through my hometown and you can break all the windows of my favorite restaurants, but don't you dare try to loot Cheesecake Factory. Don't you dare.
This is Deborah, and it sounds like from your experience, you see someone actually walking away with a cheesecake there after the Cheesecake Factory was looted. Unclear where they may have gotten that, but
I like how she's like, it appears this woman has a cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory after the Cheesecake Factory has been looted. I'm not exactly sure where she got the cheesecake from, though. You literally answered your own question. So people are looting the Cheesecake Factory.
Well, we saw our two favorite restaurants in this, Cheesecake Factory and P.F. Chang's, both looted, defaced.
Some bullshit right there. All right, I'm going to end on a positive note.
I'm a little buzzed. This is a stout drink.
I haven't had anything to drink tonight. SpaceX was a success.
From SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
They have the diapers on?
So there was some clip. It was. Oh, and this is the other thing that I want to talk about. Anybody who watched this happen live, it was postponed for like 2 or 3 hours because they couldn't get the live video feed working correctly. So they had an audio video problem for like 3 hours, and they kept being like, "Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?" And they're like, "No, it's all jumbled up. I can't hear you." So it's not just us. It's literally the smartest people in the world also cannot go live. So we're as smart as NASA and SpaceX.
Well, I was so happy that that whole thing worked out well. It's like the last thing we need was for something bad to happen with that launch.
Absolutely.
That would just put us in such a bad mood. But as we saw last night, it seems like a lot of America didn't care. They went out and looted and destroyed stuff anyway. And
yeah, I think most people didn't even know. Let's see. We got lots of... One person says a truck ran into a protest in Minneapolis. Hopefully everybody was okay. Team Patrick today for sure. Lee, read original Floyd police report.
Did you see like
9 minutes?
Did you see what they said with that?
What?
They said that he had like a lot of pre-existing conditions, and that he had some kind of like breathing issue and blood issue, and that he had all these narcotics in his body. Like they set this whole thing up to vilify him as much as possible.
Well, I mean, it did appear the way that he was talking and the way the cops were talking about him that he was on some hardcore drugs. Obviously, I don't know that to be true, but that's like the vibe I got at the beginning of the video. But I saw some headline about the autopsy was showing that he had pre-existing conditions, and it was not, was it asphyxiation or whatever? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't, his knee wasn't on his windpipe. It was on his artery.
Jugular.
Maybe, I don't know what the difference is.
Aorta.
But like you would still be able to breathe while your brain was losing oxygen. So I don't know how that works, you know. I don't know if an autopsy can see the difference there, you know, from a blood choke and an air choke or whatever, but yeah, that's very disturbing.
Well, I think they're now asking for an independent coroner's report, which I never have any problem with this stuff. When they say, we want more people to look at it, I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
It's like, did you watch the Curb Your Enthusiasm where he has to go get, like, he gets a second opinion?
For what?
I can't remember, but he goes to the doctor, and it's like, yeah, you're going to need this, this, and oh, I think he hurts his knee or something, or his ankle. And he's like, yeah, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, man, that sounds like a big pain in the butt. He's like, how would you feel if I got a second opinion? And then the doctor gets super offended. Like,
okay.
You can get a second opinion. And then he goes and gets a second opinion, and the guy's like, yeah, it's just going to be tender. Like, actually doing that surgery is very high risk. I would just like stay off of it for a month, and 99% of the chance you'll be fine. So then he's like, why don't I just see what happens if I stay off of it for a week or, you know, a month? Anyway, the point is just that, like, I feel like, yeah, have 2 or 3 other coroners look at it, test his blood, see if he had any of these conditions. Like, could he have? I think there's.
It just, I don't. Maybe it does matter.
I think people just don't trust the like official police coroner or somebody who's worked with them.
Yeah, no, I mean,
bring
that's
somebody from
reasonable.
outside the community in.
But I don't know. Like, it's so tough. If you knew for a fact that he did not die because the knee was on the neck, how much does that change the situation?
I don't know. When you have the whole crowd saying he's dying, lift
I know,
up, and he's in freaking handcuffs.
I feel like it doesn't change much.
It doesn't change much. But, you know, and they're saying the officer, like, had other histories. Like,
Yeah,
maybe like 10 years ago, he also had something else where it was disputed. But now they're coming out and saying George was, like, a felon. He has a felony charge. Like, it's just, this is what happens when all the dirt comes out. And I'm one who says we should have all the information. All the dirt should come out. But people on either side are going to say, like, you know, you're making the cop look worse than he is, or people are going to say you're making George look worse than he is. You know, it's all over some stupid counterfeit $20 bill. Like, it's just such a sad situation.
Samuel says George Soros paid to have the pallets of bricks to be dropped off in the riot zones. Absolutely. Proof. Anything else that you wanted to talk about today, Patrick? We went through a lot of video clips. And we've been on the air for an hour and a half.
What do you think's going to happen tomorrow in the market? Do you think the market's going to be up? Riots, we're fine? Do you think this is like the beginning of the sell-off and people are like, oh my gosh. Like, I personally feel like this is all, again, I'm not trying to take away from the Black Lives Matter movement thing that's going on with George Floyd, but I feel like there's a lot of pent-up anger with the coronavirus. I feel like there's the largest amount of unemployment we've ever had in history. I feel like people are going to start needing jobs, if nothing else, for the insurance, and they're going to start finding out that jobs are only paying $15 an hour. Like, did I tell you this?
Mm-hmm.
We're moving into a political cycle where, like, there's got to be a narrative going into November. You remember last time we had an election? It was around June or July. We started having all of the FBI investigation of Hillary's emails. That was around July. Like, I feel like the biggest stuff is going to start happening in July, August, leading up to this. I just feel like all of this is going to continue on. And if any part of this is a politically motivated thing, it's just going to get escalated even more. I don't think these riots are going away. If they do go away for the George Floyd thing, I think other riots are going to come out because of the election. And we haven't even seen any debates. That's what's crazy. Like, what is Biden doing? He's just, like, hanging out, being quiet.
Biden's chilling. He's waiting.
We don't know. We don't know if people are going to be able to go to the voter booths and like actually vote in November. We still don't know how many people are dying of COVID. I just feel like the market is insane right now, and I'm wondering, is this something that's going to start the trend down? Like I said,
I got to pour more money into my -3 times ETF.
You don't want to go in on the gun stocks with me?
No, I just feel like a lot of times when you make your moves, I feel like you're already too late. Like,
I mean,
of course
the time
the gun
to do it would be
stocks are
Friday.
going to go up tomorrow. Of course they're going to go up tomorrow. But I
could
think
they continue to go up for another week, another month?
Maybe is that your game plan, to just like buy for
I mean, I have a
week
purchase
and
order
sell?
for like market order first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
One of them, I can't do that because they're changing their stock name, and it's kind of complicated. But I feel like that might be the best time because people don't know the stock ticker because it's changing names. You can't put an order in right now because that ticker doesn't exist. So I'm like, maybe that's an early one. A lot of my bets that I do turn out not to be good, but I just feel like if people feel like this is a race war we're going into, I've heard those words thrown around. I could see where a lot of people start saying, like, man, I got to get guns. People were buying guns for COVID when LA and California started saying, like, we're going to do a mandatory lockdown. People started buying guns. I feel like right now people are probably buying guns. I'm not a big gun guy, but I feel like maybe this is a good bet.
Well, you can keep everyone updated on that. Photog Mike is in the house. He says, according to Metallica, nothing else matters. And on that note, I think we should call it quits.
You're giving me the final video.
Yep.
I can't get anything else in.
Nope. Subscribe, guys. This is a new YouTube channel. We'll see you tomorrow.
Buzz, man.